It's our Friday Daily Dose of Cope. And here we have Gus. And obviously, Gus is about to bust from all of the faces that he has eaten. So many faces, so many stories to get to. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. Let's do a how it started, how it's going. So this one's titled When You Get Drilled by Trump in His First Term and Then Return Back for Some More Drilling. So Democratic Wins Media is saying breaking, and this is back in November, before the election, November 3rd, 2024. It says breaking, Donald Trump's campaign is completely imploding. Obviously, we know it did not implode and he won. So let's just skip down here to Carla. So she said, keep telling yourselves that. And then she does some laugh emojis, gives the American flag, says Trump 2024. So that's how it started. How it's going. Fast forward a year, how it's going. She says, yeah, I voted for Trump 3 times. The first term, my husband was laid off from his oil field job for a year. He worked more under Obama and Biden than he did Trump now. Once again, under Trump, the oil prices are so low. Oil companies can't or won't drill. So like he said, she got drilled the first term and came back for a little bit more. But like he said, she was all about it with the American flags and everything. Trump 2024, baby. We haven't seen too much from Muslim MAGA or Arab MAGA, so let's go ahead and correct that. Let's see a little. So this says, Dearborn resident who helped convince community to vote for Trump comes to dearly regret it after anti-Muslim protesters arrive. So this was posted. It says, I made the community vote for Trump, and now look at what you guys do. Dearborn resident speaks outside of city council meeting where anti-Muslim protesters are present. He really helped reel it in for Donald Trump. Good on him. We have another how it started, how it's going. It's from a different person. That's why the layout looks a little bit different. So let's do this one because it matches that other person. It says, in case you were wondering how it's working out for all those Muslim Republicans who handed Trump a key swing state last November, we got 2 different headlines. It says, why Michigan's Arab Americans voted for Trump. Resentment of Biden-Harris administration's pro-Israel policies drove a massive swing state away from the Democrats in Dearborn and beyond. They were here. They were laughing it up. They got Donald Trump. He's pointing. He's like, yeah, that's my dude. Fast forward a year. I highly doubt that Trump is even worried about the Muslim community out in Michigan. But how it's going. Republican Senate candidate attempts Quran burning at Michigan protests. Dang, they out there burning holy books. The person more motivation, he usually does the how it started, how it's going. He posted this old tweet from Tulsi Gabbard from back in November 2028. Tulsi Gabbard said, hey, Donald Trump, being Saudi Arabia's B word is not America first. She said that back in 2028. And you know, all of these people pretty much got in line. She said being Saudi Arabia's B word is not America first. This person below put Donald Trump in a headscarf. I mean, his face is not orange enough, so this is not correct. I posted that because we have come full circle. November 18th, this is literally 7 years later. So Trump says, so you're saying to me now that $600 billion will be $1 trillion? And the MBS, the person who is responsible for Jamal Khashoggi being dismembered and tortured and all of that this person, he says definitely. So now we're perfectly fine with Saudi Arabia. They did not like Zoran Mamdani because they said something about 9/11, despite the fact that he was like 9 or 10 years old. But we're now perfectly fine with Saudi Arabia and MBS, who is a schmurderer. Donald Trump is perfectly fine, copacetic. Anyways, Donald Trump says, I like that very much. We're doing numbers that nobody has ever done. The thing is, MAGA doesn't care about this. MAGA does, they talk so much about all of these things like 9/11, and I distinctly remember they were coming hard against Barack Obama because he was Muslim and tied to all the Muslim brotherhoods, but let's go MBS. The tariffs have really torn up some small business owners. It's torn up household budgets. It's really jacked up the economy. But this person, this man right here, he voted for Donald Trump. He voted for his business to go under and for 50 people to lose their jobs. He helped bring this in. It says, I voted for Trump. Now my family lumber mill in North Carolina is closed. 50 jobs lost, 2 tariffs. Wilson Jones walks through the quiet remains of what was once the beating heart of his family's lumber empire, the Mackey's Ferry sawmill in North Carolina. I've spent my entire life in the lumber business, the 60 something mill owner tells Bloomberg, his voice thick with emotion. To hear nature in a sawmill instead of machines, for any lumberman, that's unnatural. I don't want to sound overly dramatic, but it's as unsettling as watching a loved one take their final breath. Jones represents the fifth generation of his family to run a lumber operation, and he is the first to shutter a mill. The reason behind it, Trump's so-called Liberation Day tariffs, unveiled on April 2nd, 2025, which was supposed to bring manufacturing jobs roaring back to America. When people talk about Liberation Day, I can't hide my sarcasm. We weren't liberated. At the time, it almost felt like those tariffs were designed to liberate me from our business entirely. And I've said that. I've said that it liberated people from their money because it is dumb, because Americans paid the cost. The businesses paid the cost when they had to buy materials from out of the country. People were so dumb where it came to tariffs, and Donald Trump tore these people up. Tariffs push manufacturing towards crisis. The struggles of the Jones family are far from isolated. Across factories, mills, and plants throughout the country, similar stories are unfolding. Since Trump's April tariff announcement, manufacturing employment has dropped by 42,000. That's 42,000 jobs, 42,000 households just in manufacturing, while job openings and hires have fallen by 76,000 and 18,000 respectively, according to the Center for American Progress. In May, manufacturing hit its weakest level since 2016 under President Obama. Recent months have shown little improvement. Since the beginning of 2025, the manufacturing sector has lost 78,000 jobs, including 3,000 in October alone, according to an ADP report. Although job openings increased to 462,000 in July, up from 393,000 in June, the actual hiring declined by 5% year over year, according to ICMS's data. Employers are taking longer to fill positions, with the average time to fill rising from 40 to 42 days. This indicates that companies are moving cautiously in an uncertain market, weighing every hiring decision more carefully than before. Wilson Jones sees these trends reflecting in communities nationwide. If you put all these little communities together from Maine over to Michigan, down to Mississippi and Alabama, it's having the same effect on these small towns. The human toll is mounting. When Mackey's Ferry closed, 50 workers were laid off, but only 10 accepted jobs at the Jones Brothers' other mill an hour away. The remainder are seeking new careers, building new lives, or simply figuring out what comes next. For Wilson Jones, the impact is deeply personal. President Trump, gee, I understand what you're trying to do, but you're on a fool's mission, and you're not helping a few. You're hurting a lot, he says, reflecting on the shuttered mill and the workers whose livelihoods have been upended. And keep in mind, this is what he voted for. Let's talk briefly about soybean farmer Randall Shelby, only briefly because we know that these farmers are getting screwed every which way simply because they voted for a person who is dumb, who put on tariffs, who started trade wars. These people voted for him again. They were dumb. We already know that. I'm skipping the beginning where it's talking about he used to work in the medical field. Let's skip to this part. His new life started 6 years ago after he secured about $1.3 million in financing for a case combine and other equipment, fertilizers, seed, and labor needed to produce soybeans and rice, staples that enjoy strong demand overseas, primarily from China. High fuel costs, rising interest rates, falling crop prices, and depressed Chinese demand amid geopolitical tensions had already eroded farm profits during the previous Joe Biden administration. Then came a seismic shift in U.S. politics, which brought a tariff loving president back to the White House, further rattling an industry still struggling to recover from the market convulsions caused by the COVID-19 pandemic and the surge in fertilizer prices triggered by Russia's war in Ukraine. Today, Shelby faces the possibility of returning to a life he thought he had left behind just to make ends meet, so he might have to go back into the medical field. I won't have a choice. I'll have to. That's not what I wanted. I'd like to just pay the bills, said the 50-year-old soybean farmer from Arkansas, a deep red U.S. state. It should be my choice, not due to political practices. Shelby is teetering on the edge of losing everything he invested and more. I'll have to file bankruptcy very soon. I'm talking within a couple of weeks. They'll come in and auction everything off, he said in a voice heavy with anxiety. I'm not doing this whole article, but I want to show you this part. And this is the part why I don't give a good goddamn about these people. Shelby, who claimed he was forced to sell his entire harvest at a loss, said he would still vote for Trump, calling him the only qualified businessman who has been in there in years and years. So he would do this all over again. That's the reason why I say these people deserve it. They need to feel this for 3 to 7 years. This dude is about to lose everything and he would do it again. All right, y'all, chime in. Let me know what you think. Like, comment, and share.